Tim is always the strongest one in our relationship, physically, mentally, emotionally, every way. He went to his GP for a routine checkup, and when he came home and said he had been referred to a urologist, I was gobsmacked, worried, and I wanted to go with him. But he said, no, it'll be fine, it's just routine. So I stayed at home, worrying. When we were called back for the second interview, I insisted on going with them. And when the urologist mentioned the word cancer, well, I knew Tim didn't hear anything after that. I looked at his face and I just knew by him he wasn't going to hear anything after that. So suddenly I was going to be the strong one in our relationship, a new role for me. I tried to take in as much detail as possible, and I tried to be strong. And I suppose, to be honest, in the back of my mind, I thought, well, prostate cancer, sure, that's okay. Have an operation for that and take it out and away we go. I'm afraid the reality was a little bit different. We went home and we waited for our hospital date, and Tim went in and had his surgery. That went very well. The pain relief was excellent. The management in the hospital was absolutely excellent. Tim had a catheter and that was fine. And after about a week, he came home. And I was very happy, and so was he. So we had our catheter care, and we had cream to put on the top of his penis, because that's one of the problems with the catheter. It can get irritated and sore. He found the bag that was strapped to his leg a little bit uncomfortable at times, but again, he managed. He was given injections that he had to take on a daily basis. But Tim, always very strong, but a little squeamish about needles. So I gave him the injections and I didn't have a problem with that. It was fine. The other thing we needed to worry about was wound management and mobility. So we used to take off for little walks every day, and actually it was very enjoyable and gave us lots of quality time together. After 3 weeks, Tim and I went back to the hospital and his catheter was removed. And I think for both of us, that was the blackest day of all. You're told about the incontinence and the lack of bladder control, but I think until you actually experience it, it's very different. So we went home with our bag of green nappies and incontinence sheets to put on the bed at night. And Tim went up to the bedroom and I heard him sobbing. That's a very difficult time when your husband or your partner, who's always so strong, is up in the room sobbing, and you feel you can't go in and try to comfort him. But eventually we got through that, and we got used to the nappies and the incontinence sheets on the bed at night, and we even managed to joke about the big gap in the middle of the bed. After a while, we were visited by our district nurse, who was very helpful, and she called in a continence care advisor, who again was extremely helpful. And we then had to go, and Tim had physio. The physio was pelvic floor exercises. Again, we both thought before this that, well, pelvic floor exercises are something that women do after childbirth. So Tim was now doing his pelvic floor exercises, and thankfully his bladder control quickly improved. I knew that Tim was also depressed about something else. I knew what it was, because at night I'd lie in the bed and I'd try and cuddle into him. I'd try and be intimate, but I didn't want to put Tim under pressure, because we had been told about erectile dysfunction. And again, it's a difficult subject, and until you experience it, it's hard to describe it really. Eventually, the elephant got so big that I just felt I had to discuss it with Tim. So I took the bull by the horns and put my arms around him, and we discussed the whole problem of the erectile dysfunction. And gradually, as his bladder control returned, everything else seemed to come back to normal too. Over time, the exercises that Tim was given, and the pelvic floor exercises especially, and the support group actually helped an awful lot, because Tim went to a support group where he got fantastic information on all kinds of levels, practical and emotional. And eventually we came out the other side of this journey, and things came back to normal, or are almost back to normal now. And we have found that this journey through this prostate cancer and the whole process has made us even closer as a couple.